morning. Good morning. Getting set up on the Discord here and get rocking and rolling. Just let me post a message, get everybody in here. All right. It's going to be kind of a slow week. You know, it's a holiday. We got a half day tomorrow, and then the market is closed on Thursday. So let's give everyone a little bit to roll in, pick the sand out of their eyes, and get their morning drinks. All right, sorry, just checking on these channels really quick. All right, so let me go ahead and start my process here, and let me make sure my screen is on. Okay, and let me make sure that we can. Okay, make sure we're not muted. All right, what's going on, Bendit? Good morning, buddy. How you doing? Oh, sorry about that. I guess I remuted myself in Discord somehow. Good morning, buddy. How's it going? Oh, we got the doctor on YouTube as well. Good morning. Good morning. You working on any horses today? Is it Horse Tuesday? Is that a thing? It should be. We're gonna make a change.org petition for that. See if we can get some horses in the mix. All right, let me go ahead and get my day trade list cleared out. Clicking the wrong ones here. All right, there we go. So fresh start. Switch this back to pre-market, and then we'll get rocking and rolling. So let me just kick this down to the 2 minute so we can see. Got a good volume market cap ratio on this one. Going to add that. It's obviously the top percent gainer as well. This one's got kind of weird volume, but it's got a good ratio, so I like it. And it's in my price range. Hey, alarm clock. How you doing, buddy? The alarm clock wants to play as well. Oh, you're going to New Mexico. Ooh, you enjoy that weather, buddy. Must be nice. Everyone else, treat them different, okay? Just kidding. No, it's good stuff, man. Be safe. Have fun. J-Wag, good morning. Good morning. We got soccer. Paul as well. Chris Tech, Stickman, what's going on, buddy? Just building my watch list out this morning. So this one's 20 cents. Not a big fan of that. It does have a good volume market cap ratio, but in situations like this, I need it to at least be like 5-1, right? So we're getting there, but it's not quite there yet. So we'll see. OPTX is one of our favorites. It's got pretty low volume though, but I'm going to add it to the list anyway because this one tends to get market volume, and it's right in my price range. So we'll keep an eye on this one. Vivek as well. Obviously, that's got an insane ratio here, but it's also 8 cents. So I'm going to be mindful of that. And then TIVC, I don't really see much. I see that there's an algo setup on it, which is great, but it's got to get volume, right? So we'll keep an eye out for this one. I'm not going to put it on the list because I don't want a whole bunch of tickers to focus on today. Error is another one. Like there's a lot of really good like repeat offenders on the list until we get to about here. But I just don't want to add all these to the list. This one's trash right now. So this one and TIVC and VIVK, they're okay, right? But out of all these, I think OPTX is going to be the better candidate for market volume. So I'd rather just hang out and wait for that one. So let me grab now that I've got my list built, I'm just going to grab my position allocation. So I'm just going to divide this number by 4, and that's going to get me 29.59. So I'm going to take my Turbo Trader widget here, and I'm going to plug in that number to dollars. And then when I hit my market buy, it'll use that number of dollars to buy as many shares as it can. And then I'll have some left over at the end. But that's the idea, just nice and easy. I'm not going to make anything complicated. Let me smoosh these over here. All right, so now what I want to do is put some boxes out if I can. If I see anything that I like, I can draw some boxes. I kind of like this right here a little bit. Like none of these are really spectacular, right? And they're all pretty close together. Kind of like this one. Yeah, I think I like these. These are both kind of transitory though, right? I don't really see any big moves out of these areas, so just going to hang out. But I got my 2 levels on that one. This is beautiful. I like this a lot better. That's a good yellow golden zone right there. Kind of got one here as well. That's a little more transitory. And then this guy's pretty big, but I'm going to draw it anyway just for fun. All right, and that'll be definitely transitory. So I've got these two ranges that we can look for. But again, I'm not touching any of these until after market open. I don't like this stuff. Not on a short week. And not when there is a inconsistent volume pre-market. Okay. That one, I just see the one. OPTX, of course, this is going to be more of a consolidation-based fella. So I'm going to go a little bit more to the left. And I'm just going to draw out what I see. That's transitory AF. This is beautiful. I like that. That's a nice tight range there. Let me just get it to the wick, though. It's a stronger level, but I'm still just going to use a dashed outline there because I just don't quite enjoy it. But I think we got a good setup on this one. So obviously the trade breakout is what I'd be looking for on this one. So maybe a pop over, a retest, and then a push up, ideally through this yellow. You can see we had a little wedge compression and it released to the downside with strength. So this area is pretty strong. However, it's a relatively recent level. Like it's been bisected quite a bit. This one is a much more established level. So I'm willing to bet if I go back in time, I'm going to see a little bit more reaction to that orange. You can see we've got a bunch of levels above here as well. Yeah, sorry, it's hard to see on the screen there. Let me get rid of all this other stuff as well. We don't need all that on the screen. These are all old levels and ranges, so just clear it all out. We got about 5 minutes till market open as well. So here we had a pretty good level, a bounce off the yellow, but it's still like it showed some weakness. Like you guys probably can't see it because I'm super zoomed in, but on the daily, it did dip down quite a bit below there. But the level itself acted as an accelerator, and then it held quite a bit, and then it failed, right? And then it's got potential, but ideally the potential just slingshots it to the upside. We don't want this to be a pivot level. We just want it to be a pass-through level that has a lot of strength, and I want it to just speed the price up and slingshot it into the future. So like right here, I mean, we could, you know what? I think I will actually grab a small piece of this. If I got to wait until this tells me it's okay though. So while I'm waiting for that, I'm willing to trade that one pre-market because I know that it gets a lot of volume most of the time. It's kind of a risk that I'm willing to take. And then this one here, don't really see anything on this time frame, so I'm going to kick it up to the 5 minute. And I kind of got this guy here. That's about it, right? So I'm just being a little bit more cautious today. Pre-market here. So we're in auction cross. And during auction cross, we start to see some volume and all that good stuff. So if I don't see what I like during auction cross, I always have veto power, right? So I don't have to trade anything. For this one, Trib, I'd like to see it pull down and then give me a good entry. But if any of these get a surge in volume, I'm more than happy to just trade it to the upside. But I'd much rather get a good, cleaner entry off of these zones. So we'll see. So for this one, OPTX, I like it, but it's pretty bid heavy right now. So I think I'm going to hang out just a little bit. I got to see confirmation here in the order book and the time in sales. So maybe like a price break like 274 or something. It should be indicative. We got 3 minutes till market open. Good morning, guys. Good morning, Sailor Brown. Good morning, Porter. We got Nikki here, Elton, Elizabeth, Shin. How's it going? Vito's. We got someone named Vito in the chat. I love it. How's it going, Vito? I didn't even see that. Glad you guys are here, though. Morning, morning. Looks like we're getting a little bit of spice on Trib and Hi-Ho. So I think Trib is obviously going to be the favored child, but I think that's going to probably, it's either going to blast and make people a bunch of money, or it's going to hurt them pretty bad. So I'm going to just watch. If it hurts people, then I'll grab it. If it blasts, I'll grab it for a smaller range, I think, and we'll see where it goes. But the only one I'm really watching into market open would be OPTX, and that's just because of the dynamics of that particular stock. Let me open my drink really quick. I don't know if you guys can hear that. I promise it's not beer. I don't, not an imbiber. But I do have like a piece of popcorn that's been stuck like under my tonsil for 2 days. And that's annoying. That's like a little shard of the shell. So that's not fun. No, it's not a monster. It's not a monster. Not this time. No, God, no rip it, no lit, none of that. I don't think my heart could take it at this point. I'm done with all that. Ooh, here we go. All right, so we're climbing up a little bit here. So I think once this wall here goes away in the bid, we should be in business here. We got 1 minute till market open. I'm going to go ahead and grab some OPTX if I can get filled. I may have just missed my entry on that. Bummer. That's okay. I'm going to move this up a little bit, maybe like 275 if we get a little pullback. Otherwise, I'll just cancel that and call it a. I'll just call it a coulda, shoulda, woulda on that one. Now, if the market opens and I'm not in on this one, I'm going to cancel this order, and then I'll just manually trade it. But that would have been the entry. All right, we got 23 seconds till market open. That's a good 4% candle right there. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and cancel that. I'll just trade it manually. At least we knew we were in the right area, right? So situations like this, you just let it go. Yeah, you don't have to catch every move. There's going to be plenty of opportunities. I got 5 more tickers here, plus this one will have future opportunities. Market is open, so let me switch these around a little bit. There's no need to chase these. I want to be chasing Statham there. All right, hi-ho. I'm just going to flip through this list really quick, see what I can see. Oh, yeah, there we go. Oh, I zoomed in too far, but that's a nice one anyway. VIVK, again, that's an 8-cent stock. I would prefer not to trade that one, but we'll see. We'll see what it gives us. All right, cool. So we're starting to get a little bit of pullback on some of these, which is good. That's what I want. I want things to have responses and make decisions. I don't want them to just go blasting in one direction, except for this one, obviously, because it should be getting that surge of volume. But this one I'm not in. This is OPTX, so we missed that entry, and that's okay. Dang it, I missed my retest on that. That's okay. So this one, pretty much I'm just looking to grab it anywhere from there to there, but that's okay. I'm not, again, I'm okay to just let stuff go. I don't have to catch every single move. And my goal, right? My goal, if I'm a brand new trader and I just want consistency, my goal is just to get 1.5% for the day, right? It doesn't have to be a big move. I'm just looking to catch a little piece of it that I can ride up and then get out along the way. All right, I think I'm going to look at hi-ho here. Yeah. So for this one, I want to trade it box to box, but I'm going to take the bulk of my profits kind of early on that one. So I'm watching the order book here. I'm watching the time and sales. I like what it's doing here. I'm going to grab a piece. I got filled at 138-ish. And while that's cooking, I'm going to come back over here. And this is TRIB, T-R-I-B. So I'm just kind of letting things move as they want to move. This is about 3% up so far. I'm just going to kind of let that cook, do its thing. It's about 4.5% up, 5%. Okay, so I'm almost at my 1.5% goal right now. So, again, it just little pieces. They add up nice. I'm going to get ready to lock some of these here pretty soon. I think that's a good 6.5% on that. So I'll just let those get filled if it wants to. Just going to swap back over here to OPTX. This is going box to box. That's great. So we definitely had the right setup. There we go. So target hit on that one. PCLA is chilling. Vivek is chilling. I think Hi-Ho is going to be my the next kind of bucket of participation. It's going to catch all that extra volume in theory, right? Yeah, that should push. That's pretty good, hopefully. But we're not going to rely on hope, right? That is a dangerous thing. So we're just we're gonna trade accordingly. All right. As soon as this candle here turns green, I'm going to grab some more trib. Not grab some more. I'm going to grab some trib. I'm going to get my first piece. Hi-Ho sold. But maybe that was a little early on trib, but that's okay. I'm going to grab my little piece on that. I've hit my 1% for the day, my 1.5%, sorry. I can walk away for the day, right? That should be the extent of my trading. If I'm a new trader and I don't want any chaos or any drawdown, just get in, get out, and then get over it, right? But that's not what new traders do. New traders stay in there, they work, they want to use every dollar they have. And that's when it gets messy. So I'm live streaming and I'm teaching you guys things. So I'm going to continue to trade. I'll show you how to average down a position, probably this one if needed. And then we'll just continue locking these profits. So this one went all the way up to like 8.5%. This is Hi-Ho. Normally I would have just cut that right there, but I might add to this one too if it wants to. But both of these have a ton of potential. Just depends on where that volume makes it go, right? So you can see I'm not relying on being right. And I think that's one of the key differences that most traders don't they don't know how to shift their mindset away from, is that it's not about being right. You can have an atrocious win rate and still make money in the market. It's just a matter of how much of this stuff you allow, the red, right? And if you're not able to offset it, it's going to bite you more often than not. This one might halt here in a little bit. All right, so this one, remember, I want it to come down to here potentially. So if it comes down here and then pulls back up, I'll add some. Otherwise, if it just pulls back up prematurely, there's no point in adding any more to the same spot. Okay. And drawdown is always optional. Remember, I hit my 1.5% for the day. I could have just walked away. Like if I was not me and I wasn't, doing this for a long time. I might lock some more of these up here in a little bit. What's the high on that one? 155. Yeah, obviously, they're trying to push this one up to high a day. So this is 168. I'm just going to look at the order book here. We got walls 165, 167, and then there's a small one at 170. But there's a lot of walls here. So these are either going to be resistance or we're going to use them as chain fills and just blast up over new high. So it looks like so far we should be blasting. So we'll see if these can chain fill through that box and just get like a clean boop, and then a drastic pullback probably. That's usually how it goes. I don't see Charlie. Where's Charlie? I see Tammy. I see Ziggo. I see Lee. I see Red Ace. How's it going? Fergie and Carrie. Good morning. Good morning. No, I didn't hear anything, Porter. Not this time. What's up, Tammy? Did you guys get any snow? We had like flakes or something. I don't know. It was weird. It was like it's like someone sprinkled powdered sugar on everything this morning. But everything is like damp. So I don't know what happened there. Must have had something. I don't know. All right. OPTX is chilling above the range. All right. We missed our entry down here. We watched it. We just let it go because we don't want to chase. And then it went up straight through our target. Now it's going to probably have some hangout time up here. So the next opportunity is going to be on a retest of this yellow box. Remember, because this is where that wedge was. This is where the origin started. But we're not going to trust this level because it was bisected so many times. We know that there's a compression of supply and demand into this zone, but we also know that one of those sides lost. So we got to be careful here because there's institution right here, right up here. There's a hedgie. He's looking to reverse position probably. It's the guy who won this. So I don't want to get caught in that. If mommy and daddy are fighting, I want to focus on having 2 Christmases. I don't want to choose a side and, you know, make the dynamic worse, you know. Trying to call restaurants, get some food before everything closes. Very happy you didn't hear that whole call. Oh, no. Well, it's probably in Thai, so I don't think I would have understood it. I might have asked if you were okay. Jogging and typing. Nice. All right, let's peek over here. This is about to pop potentially. We're back in the range here, and we got a nice ask stack here, 160 to 175. So let's see if that one wants to pull to the upside or if it wants to get shoved down. OPTX is still just chilling. Trib chilling. That's one we just looked at. Hi-Ho is kind of in between here. Remember this one, I already locked the bulk of my shares, so I've already got a net profit on this one of $1.36. PCLA has blasted out of the box, but I wasn't watching this one, and that's okay. This is the one that I was kind of less sure about, so I'm okay to just let that go. It's a 25-cent stock. I think it was like 18 cents when we started looking at it. This is probably going to halt and get messy, so I don't want to be part of that. It's okay to let those go. But again, we knew we were in the right area. We had the right setup. It just wasn't the setup we happened to take. Okay. So anyone that feels FOMO when they see stuff like this, just let it go. Just take pride in knowing that you put your box in the right spot. You know, I see a lot of people beat themselves up because they miss something that, you know, happens to just go drastically in one direction or the other. So for this one, same thing. And drawdown is a choice. I can cut this one right here, right now if I want to. But I'd like to add at least one of these positions for you guys. Kind of show you how to manage them. So if this pulls down, I'm only looking for an add out of this yellow box, just bouncing out of the yellow box. If it doesn't, and it just goes up, I'm just going to lock more of my profits that I've already locked some. I'm going to lock more of them above this orange box, and then the remainder can just go as high as it wants. So I'm just trading this range right here. Okay. So right now I have a small position. It's reduced, and I'm pretty high up in the box overall, from this box to this box down here. So I don't want to commit a bunch right here and then be top heavy in this box. I want to wait until it comes down and tests before I add any more. All right, looks like Trib is getting a little spicy. And I got my hotkeys set up, so I'm going to sell 75% of my shares at a decent enough profit. And PCLA is just blasted. I don't know how this hasn't halted yet. That is insane. And they've got 10 million restricted shares. That's a little under half of their total float. Well, their total free float, sorry. So if they dilute this, they're going to dilute their shares by like 50%. That's insanity. So this could halt. They could drop an offering or a private sale, and that whole thing could just get cut in half. They come all the way back down to like 13 cents without anyone buying or selling anything. So I guarantee they got one queued up, and whoever's trying to buy is probably calling them like, hey, push the button, push the button. And their CFO's like, not yet, buddy. And they're like, what are you going to give us to sweeten the deal? It sounds silly, but that's literally how those conversations go. It's like realtors. All right, let's see what we got. OPTX is still just chilling. We got a good amount of separation from the range. So for this one, we'd want to see a retest. Okay, doesn't mean it's not going to go higher because it was all the way up here at 354 at one point. And again, if you're feeling anything about not getting in here, you know, we watched it, we placed the buy order. It just happened to be like a couple cents above. So if you feel feelings about not getting in here and seeing it all the way up here, that's what you need to focus on. It's the psychology side, because at the end of the day, this is a great setup, and we caught it. We just didn't get filled, and that's okay. PCLA, we drew the box, and the price blasted out of the one box we drew, and it had some strength. That's good stuff. You know, those are successes. Trib, same thing. We did see a good pop out of this box. It just couldn't fail. It didn't have enough volume, so it wants to hug the box now. And then we have another box down here that has similar behavior. So if it wants to come down here, then I'll look to place my second buy. So we got to fix our mindset if we start feeling stressed out or you know, like we're missing out on stuff just because things happen to be moving. Actually, what I'm going to do, I'll leave that there. Ooh, here we go. We're going to pull down or up. So this one's already been down here all the way down to 145. So it's not like, it might look like a big number, but it's really not. So it's just the law of the boxes, right? We draw the box, we understand what it represents. If the volume is low, meaning that something else on this chain is stealing the volume, these are going to hug the boxes. When these halt or when they start to sell off, that volume is going to dissipate. It's going to spread out and get more even. Think of it like a pile of sand. If you take the bottom of a pile of sand out, that sand is going to like spill out to the sides. And that's what we're waiting for when we see stuff like this. We're just waiting for this volume to kind of unconsolidate and spread out and land back in our bucket. So we'll see if we get that on the hi-ho here as well. See, the volume is decreased. These just want to hug the boxes. PCLA volume is increasing, so it leaves the boxes. The box is a broken home. It doesn't want to be home unless it's home alone. When there's nobody home, it wants to hang out at home and live there and just chill out in its room. And then when people start to come over, we got family, we got annoying neighbors, blah, 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 blah. It books it. It doesn't want to be home. Okay. And that's what we're seeing. Vivek, this one just didn't get the volume that we like. So it's still just kind of chilling in the box. But this one's, you know, like I said, this one's got a lot of, it's got potential. Like we traded the hell out of this one a bunch. I know Lee has as well. But it's important not to marry stocks. Just because you recognize them doesn't mean they're always going to be good every time they're on the list. You know, this one has potential, but that potential means nothing if it doesn't have the volume to fulfill it, you know? So in this case, we add it to a list, we draw our boxes, and we keep it on a list, and we just watch it and wait patiently. We don't try to force the trade. We don't say, oh, it's in the box, so I'm going to buy it because it's going to go box to box, or whatever your strategy is. Just let it do its thing. All right, OPTX looks like it's getting a little bit of wick activity up here. So we'll see. This one is definitely stealing some of the volume here, but it is declining. So if this one starts to pull back pretty good, we get that retest. We might have another opportunity on that one. Otherwise, we're just waiting for Trib. All right, so we'll hang out and watch this one until it falls off, and then PCLA is starting to pull back a little bit as well. So once these two start to pull back, that's PCLA and OPTX. Once we get that, or a halt, then Trib and hi-ho should get their volume back. So with that said, who here doesn't have all their Christmas shopping done? I always got to ask. I got to ask at least 2 days going into Christmas. There's got to be somebody. I guarantee it. Oh, UG9, how's it going? Is it UG9 or UG9A? I'm terrible at pronouncing names. I'm Rich, Fast Subi. What's going on, buddy? Congrats on your win as well. Also, while I got you here, I'm going to make sure you guys all see this until I'm blue in the face. We're doing a giveaway. It's a free $50 giveaway. Make sure you guys get in on that. It's there's no strings attached. You just give us your email, and then we use those. Sorry, not your email. Sorry, you sign up for a WAP account and you claim it. You get a free entry, and then we're going to pick a winner and announce it next Monday at 5 o'clock on Big Quinch's live stream. But you don't have you don't have to buy anything. You don't have to join any clubs or any of that stuff. You're just making a WAP account and then claiming this little ticket. Basically, there's nothing to download. So I also encourage you to share it with everybody you know, and maybe they'll win. There's nobody on this planet I think that would walk past $50. So it's just worth having. All right, maybe we're going to get another opportunity here on Trib. Maybe. I think it's going to be one of those mornings where until we get that volume, it's just going to hang out. So it's going to be hanging out. Oh, sorry. Let me catch up on the chat here as well. Elizabeth, we've just finished our shopping yesterday. Now just have to wrap them all. Ooh, you got to close. I'm glad the stores had what you needed. That's always a concern of mine. JWAG definitely does not have all his Christmas shopping done. That's fair. That's fair. Shin still has shopping to do. So you guys going to be trampling each other in the store last minute? Candy Penny's waiting on a delivery. That's fair. Hats off to all the holiday workers. That's stressful. All right, I was making another run for it. I'm going to keep an eye on that one. Sailor Brown is judging us from beautiful tropical Arizona with his 80-degree weather. J-Bag got some friends, kids to buy for. Probably won't see them till after Christmas Day, though, so going to risk it and wait till sales. That's fair. And just between you and me, you can always say, hey, it's in the mail. Those holiday workers, they're backed up. The only place open is a local French bar near your, Porter. Well, yeah, because Laos. Everyone's shut down the whole country for Christmas. They take it seriously. Everyone's drunk. That's good that everything's closed down then, I would say. Hopefully their emergency services are relatively sober. Porter, I read that as chows because you're in Laos instead of the word chaos, so thanks. You're messing up my head, man. Prime ribs $5.99 a pound. Good stuff, man. Stock up on that. All right, so again, for this one, for anyone that just joined, Trib, we're just waiting for a pull down here and then a confirmation for a second ad on that one. Just going to let it have some volatility there. Hi-ho, we already reduced our position up here. So I'm looking for a break above this orange box on that one. Could have traded a retest and a bounce, but I'm just going to hang out with that one. PCLA is just blasting. No retest on this one. We just drew the box. It blasted out of there. And we're just going to let that go. I don't really like that one too much. OPTX is down here where I like it, so it did puncture the box, which means I can draw my thing. And let me just check something real quick. Ooh, all right. So now I'm just going to wait for a buy. Place a buy stop here. That's going to be above 333. Now, I'm not going to place a buy here at 333. I'm going to wait until this candle here closes. And then if this candle closes, then I'll move this line down, and that will be where my buy stop goes. Did this one puncture as well? No, not yet. Okay. But I do like OPTX here. I just don't want to try to, pick it off the bottom or anything like that. I'd rather see a color change, break over a high. But this one is too wide, right? And even if it goes, like I said, it's okay to just let stuff go. But I don't want to chase it or just FOMO into it. So I'm going to wait until there's a more mechanical thing in place here. Hi-ho is in the box as well, so I'm going to keep an eye on that one. We got about 30 seconds left on the other candle, so I'll just swap back there and see what's going on. So I got my hotkey here ready. I can, as soon as that pops over like 165, 168, I'll just sell. Some more of my shares. I have 6 shares left. I'll sell 75% of them, and that'll be about 20% profit on those. All right, 3, 2, 1. This candle's about to close. All right. Now, ideally, this should have been like a red candle, so I'll put this in place anyway, just so we have it. That's going to be a buy stop at 318 on OPTX. And then I'm just going to pop back over here and see what we got on this one. Just going to also peek at this. It did not go any lower. Okay. So every 2 minutes, I'm just going to check back on OPTX and see if I got a lower high. Every time I get a lower high, I can move that buy stop down. Because I just want to catch the reversal. I don't want to catch it at a higher level than I have to. So if I can get a lower candle to enter on, I'm going to do it. All right, so we're reattempting to break through this orange box. We've tried it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So every time we try this, we're getting absorbed a little bit. But there's a lot more strength going into this one. You can see we got this big candle and this big candle. Every previous attempt except for this one has been relatively small candles. Now you got this guy here on much lower volume, and then it had to kind of break up that second run, and then here it just kind of broke up a lot. Now we're approaching it with strength. Like this candle alone almost covered this entire range. So we're getting there. We got about 40 seconds left on this candle as well, and then I'll just move this. I'll move this down to. I'm just going to move this line down just so I can see the level. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cancel the buy stop and place another buy stop if it doesn't get filled, obviously. I'm just going to set it up, though. 316. Yeah. So if the price doesn't push back up here in the next 10 seconds and pop over that level, it looks like I'm probably just going to get filled. Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and get filled there probably. Ooh, yeah, it's the same price, so no action needed there. And ideally, this would be like a red candle, but it is what it is. I'm filled on OPTX. So I'm just trading the pullback on this one. Effectively. And then I'm keeping my last buy for trip. So I'm not going to be adding any more to this one. And it looks like Trib is just kind of hovering around. Like it's not really selling off just yet, but it's also not recovering just yet. So we're still in that little bit of pull down here. And remember, I want to catch it off this box down here. So we'll see if that gives it to us. So OPTX getting quite a bit of participation here. That time in sales is moving. My Weeble is being a little slow as far as what the time in sales actually shows, but I can see this percentage dancing around a lot. So that's good for me. Hi-Ho just had a pretty decent little pop on this one as well. So we'll see if we can get a nice clean push on that one. All right, just kind of waiting for this one to just release. You see how stacked that ask is? It's all chain fill potential. So if this one gets rocking and rolling to the upside, it's going to be juicy. Because remember, these are all resistance until they flip. Once those algos flip, these all become liquidity to the upside because they want to trade in that direction and they want to catch it along the way, just like we do. So it's just going to require a little bit more volume. Like one of these volume spikes would be nice. All right, looks like OPTX is kind of retesting maybe. It might want to come down and retest. But that's okay. It still has, it's ready to go. I am going to delete this pending order though, just because I don't need it. And then this one here looks like it's maybe just getting ready to pull back up. I don't know. We're just kind of indecisive right here. Oh, that sucks. The bamboo bridge gets washed away every year. So they got to rebuild it. I also just realized I've been reading this in my brain, but I haven't been talking about what you guys are writing about. So anyone that didn't have any context there is probably confused. All right, looks like we're squeezing up into the box a little bit here on HIHO. So everything just kind of slowed down in the market. All these little small cap, micro caps, all the volume just really slowed down. So that tells me to look at SPY really quick because something's going on. Yeah, okay. So we had this little sharp pull the downside here. And this thing has just been chilling in this range. You know, if I just draw this on the 15-minute, you know, we've just been kind of ping-ponging right here. So we're finally above it, which is great. But it is definitely having an impact on these micro caps when things are hesitating. So I think once SPY kind of loosens up a little bit more, we'll get that volume to flood back into these, and then we should be good again. But there's definitely an ebb and flow in volume on days like this. Plus, we have the half day tomorrow, and then the market's closed on Thursday. So got to be mindful of the neighborhood we're in. It looks like OPTX is pulling down a little bit. Oh, this is up to 15. All right, things are starting to separate a little bit. That's good. All right, I'm going to get ready to sell another 3/4 of my shares, or I guess 2/3 it would be on this. That's about 19%. Just kind of waiting for a little push over this box. We already had a little peak over here, but I wouldn't have got filled on that. And these are just leftover shares. It's not the full position. Yeah, that border's getting approached. Be careful, man. But this is the kind of move we're looking for. It's the start of it. We still got all this pending liquidity up here as well, all the way up to like mid 170s, 180s. So we could possibly jump up to like here, I think pretty easily. All right, I'm going to go lock 3/4 of my shares up here. Got filled. I only have 2 left on this one. That's 20% up. Blah, blah, blah. Well, that's pushing. I'm going to switch back over here to Trib. Not quite ready yet. OPTX, not quite ready yet. And then HIHO is about 25% up. So this is good. It's 13%. We could halt as well, so I don't want to get stuck in that. So I'll probably exit here pretty soon if we push over that high again. I think I might just hop out of that one. Yeah, I'm out. I don't like what it's doing there. All right, so I don't care what this does at this point. It's well above my targets. If it wants to go up to the 180s, that's great. Congrats if anyone gets any of that, but I don't want to get stuck in a halt. And that volume is all I was really looking for. We got a nice clean pop over my zones that I was looking for. Now I've got Trib here coming down for my potential second buy on that one. And then OPTX showing a little bit of indecision as well. So it's just bisecting that range. So, but I'm really going to focus on Trib here. And as big and scary as this looks, right? It's double digits. It's 18% down. It's a $3.50 deficit for the day. So not the end of the world. And that's why we break those positions up. So we let them have some volatility. So in order to satisfy my criteria for entry on this, it needs to puncture this box. It can't just hover near it. I want to see the price actually break into the box. And then once that happens, that balloon is popped. Then I set a level up at the high of whatever candle breaks in. And that's when I start to place my order. Let me see what dollar amount there was on that. Okay. I'll just do the same 29.50, whatever. 29.59. That's going to be a buy stop order. Oh, I just did the wrong. I put the 29.59 in the wrong spot. I put it in the price. All right. And again, worst case scenario is best case scenario is that it just doesn't push into the box. I don't place my second buy and it just goes back up anyway. And at that point, I just have my original trade on the table. But a lot of people, you know, they don't have their psychology. So they're going to view all this as opportunity cost and be like, oh, I should have caught the bottom. Right. And that's where we hurt ourselves. So I want to make sure there's enough demonstration of both types of trading in here. All right, Port. Yeah, go focus on your food, man. All right, we have almost punctured the box. We've touched it, but I gotta. There we go. Okay, good. So now I'm going to place an order 1 cent above this line, so 136, and that's going to be my second buy on this one, and that will lower my cost basis down to probably around here, if that's the candle it gets filled on. And then, of course, still I have drawdown. So in this case, buying positions down is not a get out of jail free card. It is a way to capture volatility, bi-directional volatility, but it's not a get out of jail free card. So if you're in a position that you just wanted to go up and you didn't want to deal with all this drawdown and you're stuck in it, that's not the time to add money, right? This was a deliberate plan. I always do one of these on these streams. And we call it out ahead of time. We're not just, you know, panic buying and stuff. So I hope that's clear. If you don't want to do this at all and you don't want to have any drawdown, you can always just put a stop loss in place nice and tight. There's no such thing as a stop loss that's too tight. I hear that all the time, and it is such a lie. There's nothing wrong with taking like a 2 cent loss. If you don't want to deal with this, you don't have to. So let me be the cautionary tale. Don't copy me. I'll do it. I'll show you guys how I do it. And then it offsets. You know, if I do take a $3 loss for the day or $4 loss, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. I can make it back tomorrow, or, well, tomorrow's, yeah, I can make it back tomorrow. It's half day. So, you know, just don't torture yourself. Not over money. It's not worth it, I promise. All right, so I got filled here. So now my goal, now that we're going ideally box to box here, is just to reduce this position at or around my break even. So once we get up into this box here, I'll reduce and I'll sell, you know, 3/4 of my shares. And I could put a limit seller in place right here, right at or maybe 1 cent above my break even, just to sell half the shares, just to get back to my first buy size if I want. But I'm a little more aggressive, just full disclosure, because I've been doing this for over a decade and a half. So I'm going to probably run it up and make that decision when we're a little bit closer so I can see how the volume behaves. So I see a pretty massive wall here, 152. And that should, you know, in theory, it should pull the price up to about 152. So that's where I'm going to look just below that. And then we've also got a wall here at 175. And then on the bid side, so you got to look at both sides. We got some stickiness down here in the upper 120s. So 125 to 128. We got a wall at 120 itself. Both of those are below this orange box. So we'll see if this volume comes in. If it does, we should very easily climb up to 150s. and get back to our baseline. We're in an area of known violence. We're leaving the area in the direction that makes us money. And now we just need the volume to come in and solidify that. And that volume should be coming from institutional traders. It should be algos that are pumping volume in because they've marked this zone as a zone of potential. So we need, in this case, we look for a 4% candle. That's the idea, because that's what they look for. So this candle, for example, should get up to 143. And if it does, so 143 should be the takeoff level. So let me just draw that zone right there. I'll make it big, fat, and orange. And then if this candle can pop over 143, we should see a very nasty, disgusting rally to the upside in theory. So let me erase all these extra lines here. I'm going to get rid of my threshold line as well. Did that make sense? We draw the box, we wait for the price to puncture it, and then we just lower our entry threshold until we get an entry that makes sense. I hope. Also, is anyone not going to be here tomorrow or Friday? We've got premium live streams on those days, but tomorrow we're doing our Thursday stream for free so that we don't want people to try to show up on Christmas. So tomorrow's stream will be free. Oh, okay. Oh, you're talking to, okay. Interesting. Yes, Nikki. That's better than the glitter bombs that you've given out previous years. It creates such a mess. So this is better. We'll just move our free live stream to Wednesday instead of Thursday. It's not that I don't like them, but you're supposed to use glitter and not poison ivy. You know, it's kind of the disruptive factor. I'm all for a good glitter bomb. A killjoy. You know me. That's what they call me. Yeah, J-Wag, I really do worry if I ever snap and like somebody just like pushes me over that edge. it's going to be creative, but that'll be on the list, the poison ivy glitter bombs. But for legal reasons, that's a joke. Ha ha ha. All right. So we're still just kind of puttering around here. Pretty low volume all around here. Hi-O is just blasting. And again, I don't care that I got out. I didn't like what it was doing. And I saw a sizable enough red candle to tell me that it's time to take the risk off the table. So it just happened to go up after that, right out of this box. And that's okay. You know, if there's no wrong answers with this stuff, as long as you make sure your losses don't destroy you, right? So Trib is moving up a little bit. Remember, if we can get over this 143 level, we should see, in theory, a clean blast up to 152. So we'll see if we get that. Now it's got to get, see this little doji right here. That's what's, in theory, should kick this all off. So let me just draw that. Just draw that right there. And I'll just leave that white because I'm going to delete that here in a second. But what we should see here is a slam, slam, slam halt, like a stall up here, and then just like a rip up to like 150. That's what the volume is showing so far. Between the order book, the time and sales, and the volume profile itself as things are forming. So we'll see if that's what we actually get. And if that's what we get, then that means that we're accurately reading what is happening, the types of, there's a stall. We're going to see there's a little heartbeat. We're pushing up into the zone. So high stall, all right, just like we said. So far we're identifying the type of algo correctly, which is good. Now I just want to see that pop over that box. Once we see that, we should very easily get up to 152. All right, there's a pop over. Let's see if we get our run. I'm going to erase this box right here as soon as it breaks over. Nice little compression. There's a stall, and then there we go. So that's going to pop over, and let's see our run. That's a 3.5% candle. This one's got to get to 4%, which it should do pretty easily now. So for that, I'm looking right up here for this 4% just to see if it, there we go. 3.55. There we go, 4%. So now all the momentum algos should be jumping in here, and we should just carry us up to 152. Does this make sense? The stall just means it's compression. So there's someone absorbing and there's someone pushing up into that level. But they're lesser algos that are absorbing. So it's just kind of a temporary rejection on a very small scale. And then once they pop over that, that means that the supply zone effectively is depleted, that small supply zone. And then it just pushes through because they pull that zone out of the way. And then just it allows the price to run. Mr. Noob, what's your strategy? What do you mean, the whole thing? I just buy and then I sell when stuff goes up. Of trading. Well, it's a little complicated. I have a lot of moving parts. But are you talking about like portfolio structure strategy or just the technical analysis part? Because I have long-term investments, I have dividend stuff, I have options, all that good stuff. Just technical analysis. Well, that part's pretty simple, and it should be, because I think people make trading a lot more complicated than it should be. I mean, you can pick any strategy. Like, you can tell me a strategy and I'll figure out a way to make it profitable, but that's only because I focus on minimizing losses. So for this specific strategy that I'm currently teaching, what I like to do is look for where the hedges are. We go hedgie hunting every day. So if I look at HIHO, for example, the number one thing I look for is just big candles. I like for big moves, big candles. I see where the price moved from with intent. And then all I do is, most people draw these and, they love fair value gaps and they cling to them and they misunderstand them, right? What a fair value gap is just a distribution gap. It is already structured. It's not it's not an imbalance. It's taught incorrectly. So instead of kind of falling into that pitfall and maybe some win, maybe some lose, what we can do is take the concept that maybe some win, some lose, and really skew down our risk range. Again, if we don't want to deal with drawdown, we don't have to. But instead of focusing on the big move, we focus on what caused it, where it came from. That's kind of the bank. The move itself is the armored car flying up the highway with the doors open and money flying out the back. Our job is just to drive behind it and pick up some money and then turn off before it gets to the next bank so that we don't get caught with a car full of cash, right? So that's all we did. So we just draw these little boxes here, and there's one up here where this move came from. So we got this one caused this move. This one caused this move. So I'm just establishing those ranges. And then I just wait for the price to leave one range. And then I head up and I just catch a small piece. I don't need to catch the full move. Then I lock the bulk of my shares. And then I lock the remainder of my shares along the way. But that's all I look for. It's a very simple strategy. And there's a whole bunch of these that I teach. That's just one of many. But this one seems to be one that people resonate with. And that's it. And then again, if you don't want to deal with drawdown or any of that stuff, you don't have to. It's always optional. You can always stop out on the entry candle if it breaks below that candle, because in theory, if you're buying something that's moving up, it should continue moving up. So in this case, if we look at this buy right here, I drew my box this morning. The price came down and it punctured the box. So I entered on the break over that candle high. And then it went up from there. So if that was my only buy, I would have already probably been out of that one. But since I'm looking to build a position out and add it to it, I have a little bit more exposure and my cost basis is right here. So that's all. Now we've got this guy right here. Remember we called this guy out? Now we got to get over that and stay over it if we want to go up any higher. How do I find the stocks? That's very simple too. I mean, this all should be very simple. The hardest part of trading is going to be your psychology, because I can tell you all these things and I can walk you through them and I can write them down and you can watch me do it a million times. But if you can't catch yourself from falling into certain pitfalls, none of it's going to matter. It doesn't matter what the strategy or tool is. So my strategy for finding the trades is very simple. I just go here to the pre-market top gainers list, and then I just grab the ones that are within my price range and they have a good volume to market cap ratio. And I add them to the list. I choose maybe 4 to 7 max, and then I go through the list and I just go chart by chart, draw the boxes, 2 or 3 boxes each, and then I wait for market to open and I trade box to box. So I try to keep it as simple as possible because I don't want a whole bunch of moving parts and I don't want a whole bunch of confusion or chaos or conflicting signals or any of that stuff. Because my focus is on psychology, because that's what's going to keep me able to push buttons and make the strategy actually work. Does that make sense? Are you looking for a strategy, or are you looking for like a portfolio structure? Because none of this is even going to matter if your portfolio allocations are all, disorganized. And it's never a character flaw to just not know stuff, So that's why I'm asking these questions. I want to help you just not focus just on technical analysis, because this is a very small part of it. All the people that are on my streams like consistently see that. This is very simple. I have a lot of lines on this one because I'm trying to plot out levels so that you guys can see that are based on here. You've been doing fibs and fair value gaps, but you don't even know what the pros do. Well, they're all different. Okay, so I have a little parlor trick where I let you guys pick a ticker, and I let you guys pick a date, and I let you guys pick a price point or some price range. I might have to go in and refine it to make sure there's enough price participation there. And sometimes I even let you guys choose a strategy, right? And then we just go back in time and we back test it, and it tends to be a net positive result. But it has to be a strategy that has a small risk range, right? That's the number one. Yeah, he would hate it. That's the number one concept. You have to keep your risk small, unless you've been doing this for a while and you know how to offset those losses. And you have to be able to do it consistently. That consistency is what makes the pros pros. If you go to work at a hedge fund, an institutional firm, right, and you take a 4.5% loss, you are fired in a lot of cases on any trade, because they allow themselves a very small risk range, and that's it. And their only advantage, it's not that they have access to crazy things, and they do have faster internet connections and they have algos which supplement their trading, but the manual traders, their only real advantage is that they have a boss breathing down their neck, and that boss will not allow them to take big losses. At home, we don't have that. At home, we can compromise, we can get distracted, we can, give ourselves an out. But if you're an institutional trader and you've been doing this for 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, and you take a 4.5% loss and your threshold was 4%, you're fired. You're done. Your career's over. You got to go somewhere else. Because those firms don't want to take big hits, because they know that consistency and small risk is what makes them successful. And that's what allows them to harvest money. Now, there's also a couple of other elements in there, like they get paid to place certain orders and order types to provide liquidity, for example, but that's small. It's a small amount of money in terms of the trading part, right? So it doesn't really matter what your strategy is. You can trade fibs, you can trade fair value gaps, you can trade circles, you can trade blocks, you can trade footprint candles, you can trade moving average strategies, you can trade RSI divergence, you can trade MACD crossovers, you can trade Ichimoku crossovers, you can trade stochastics of every type, you can make up a signal, you can make up a strategy, you can flip a coin or put a number generator on there and just grab a random price point and trade that. But you have to be consistent and you have to have minimal risk while doing it. And that's what it all boils down to. Sorry, I'm rambling, but I don't want you to feel like there's a big difference there in terms of what the pros do versus what everyone else does, because it's not the technical analysis that makes that difference. Technical analysis is not for predictions. That's what people get wrong. It's to help you identify your risk range. That's all it is. It's a measuring tool. You've been going 90% in trades and paper trading. You've been practicing so much over this year. Well, what kind of data are you getting? What does it show? What's your goal with the paper trading? Every time you go in real trades, it somehow always loses. I always go back and it's so sad. Well, I'll tell you why that happens. It's a psychology thing. That's all it is. It's just psychology. You're always going to do better on paper trading because there's a different super deep attachment to the money in your brain. Even if you tell yourself you're going to treat it the same, it's just not possible because of how your brain is wired. You are a reactive processor. It's just how we are, right? So we have to shift the framework that information gets fed through so that those lower parts of the brain, which don't have access to the outside world, like your amygdala, they get better messaging from the other parts of the brain that do have access to the outside world. So something that's looking at a paper chart can tell the amygdala, be like, hey, buddy, this is what we actually see. And then the amygdala's like, I get it. Yeah, otherwise, it's just going to freak out and try to protect you. So it's going to be different, even if you convince yourself it's the same and that you're really putting your best faith effort into it being the same. It's just always going to be different. And that's okay. Like rather than fighting that, rather than just kind of accepting that it is, let's embrace it. Let's say, well, what is different about this versus that? That's the fact that I'm human, right? You have to allow yourself to be human and inefficient. We're just sloppy little organisms. We suck at efficiency. As good as we are about efficiency, we suck at it in the market. So what are you doing in your paper trades? What is working? What does the data show? Are you cutting your profits short? Are you letting your profits breathe? Are you cutting your losses short, taking those nice, tight, small losses? You're doing a 1-to-2 risk-reward ratio. That's great. That's disproportionate profit to losses. So it's got to be your entries then, or the fuel that you're feeding into the machine. Are you doing it on the same type of ticker with the same setup? Are you having the same thoughts when you trade both of these? Same everything? Do you have any different thoughts or feelings when you're trading on a real account? Like, do you expect them to lose because that's what always happens to you? Is it like oh great, here we go again kind of thing? You get nervous. Okay. So let's talk about what nervousness is. Okay. So I'm going to give you a crash course here really quick, and sorry for everyone that sat through this before. There are 3 parts of your brain that are involved here. There is the hippocampus, there's the anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC, and there's the amygdala. Okay, the amygdala, and no, it's not an analogy. It's very specific. The amygdala and your hippocampus are related to your memory. Okay, your hippocampus is kind of like a library of references that stores all your objective experiences and objective data. Okay, your amygdala stores the emotional tag that is associated with those memories. Okay, so every time you see some information, this happens constantly, all the time. But when you see something or hear something, smell something, whatever, you get data input into your brain. It goes straight to your hippocampus, and it's like, hey, what do we make of this? What do we recognize this? Is it a square? Is it a bird? Is it a velociraptor? Like, what are we seeing here? What are we thinking about? And then the hippocampus is going to compare that data to whatever it's going to try to filter down until it finds something related to it. And it's going to shove all that information over into this schema, right? And then it's going to say, okay, here's what we expect it to be. All right. So, and uncanny valley is a good example of this because it's where our brain kind of misinterprets things. But when we have that expectation made in our brain that says, okay, this should be a tiger. It's orange. It has stripes. It's got fur. It's got a tail. And then we send that over to the we send it over to the amygdala first and say, okay, do we have any emotions about this? Last time we encountered this, did we have any fear? Did we feel excited? Did we feel angry? What happened here, right? And then the amygdala is going to have a response. It's going to say, this is how we felt, okay? It's going to compile those 2 elements, and then it's going to send it over to the anterior cingulate cortex, the ACC, and that's going to kind of weigh the expectation versus what we actually see. So it's going to have a little more processing to it. And if they match, everything's fine. It's like, yep, that's a tiger. I'm far enough away. No big deal. Not a problem, right? If there's a mismatch, however, like, oh, crap, that tiger's right up in my face, or, oh, it's not a tiger. It's a velociraptor that's wearing stripes because it wants to get closer to me. I'm in danger. That's going to throw a panic signal because it's a mismatched expectation and the brain can't handle that uncertainty. So it needs to resolve it. So it throws a panic signal, and then that's when the amygdala turns into a little Hulk, and it wants to protect us because it's big and strong and it can handle it. So it's going to dump all this adrenaline everywhere. Our pupils are going to constrict, or we're going to have a physical reaction as well. brain gets flooded with with cortisol and all that, and then we lose control. Like our prefrontal cortex takes a backseat. That's the decision making part. We freak out. We do impulse because our human nature compels us to resolve uncertainty through violence, and that's where impulse comes from. And I know I'm going super deep down the rabbit hole here, but hopefully you understand that this is not a character flaw. If you struggle with anything, or if you don't know stuff, or you can't execute, you're a reactive processor. You're literally wired a certain way, and we have to correct that through neuroplasticity. And there's ways we can physically do that. It's not just I should be better kind of thing. But you have to reframe things first, because if you can't interrupt those triggers and that escalation cycle, you're going to have a very hard time catching yourself in that moment. So when you're trading and you buy something with the intent of it going up and it goes down, that's an example of that mismatch. So when you get nervous, it's because there's an expectation. It's all these trades that I'm comparing this one to in my hippocampus have been huge traumatic losses, or they've just been consistently beating me down because they're discouraging. Your brain is going to feed that into the anterior cingulate cortex, and you're going to get nervous. It just happens, right? And once you get nervous, that is a stress. Once the stress elevates, prefrontal cortex loses control, amygdala takes over. Okay? So sorry if that was super complicated, but that's how your brain works. And my main point there is to show you that it's not just something you can willpower your way through. You got to recondition yourself psychologically as well as physically. And it's your brain. Like, you just can't you can't willpower your way through that. So don't feel bad about being nervous. Embrace it. Study yourself in that state. What kind of feelings are you having? What kind of thoughts are you having? The specific words within those thoughts typically give some indication as to where they're coming from. So if you're feeling nervous, what kind of nervous? Is it nervous like about to ask a girl out on a date? Or is it nervous like, oh man, the car just started sliding and I'm driving on ice? Like, there's different forms of stress and different forms of nervous. So that's worth writing down. Just study yourself and use paper trading as a tool to bring those feelings out. And you'll have a much better time in the market, because your time is better spent focused on the psychology, not the technical analysis. That's literally just shapes and colors. Now, when you're ready to optimize that and to make it, a little bit more efficient, that's when you want to focus on adapting those strategies a little bit and focusing on, okay, what within the data can we optimize to make the losses smaller, less frequent, and make the profits bigger and more frequent. And that's where we have, like, the coaches, for example. We have the coaching program specifically for that. And it's not just technical analysis, but they help you build a trading plan. So it's not just, okay, I have $100, I'm going to put it into this, and then I get what I get. You got to build a portfolio. So you want to balance positions against each other. You want to have, sector awareness. You want to have investments and speculative allocations separate. Your account type matters. There's more to it than just looking at shapes and colors and candles. Does that make sense? So I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, go get some sleep. I need sleep too. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, and definitely thanks for sharing that, because I want to see you around some more. Easy fix. All right, good stuff. And everyone else probably went to sleep. But that's how it works, though. You have to view yourself as a processor. You're not just a person with a soul that wants to do better. All the want in the world doesn't make it happen, I think there's a bunch of quotes about, good intentions not being enough, but I'll spare the lecture on that. All right, so as far as these go, Trib is chilling. It's forming a higher low here. That's great. OPTX is recovering a little bit, but it's hugging the box because low volume. And then Hi-Ho is pulling back. It did bounce right off that box, which is great. I'm not looking for a trade on that one. That is a good clean 5 candle entry right there, by the way. Now we're bouncing off this 180 level, which is indicative of the volume. PCLA is pulling back. Easy peasy. And Vivek is just, again, it didn't get the volume. So this is one of my favorite stocks to trade, but no volume, no trade. we'll just come back here on the trib and we'll look for another re-rally up through this box here. Tell what to Austin? What do you mean? That is not something you can willpower your way through. Nothing at all? Okay. All right. I'll take your word for it. All right, and I specifically want to point out here, these two positions are about 5% down. One of them is a double-sized position, right? Trib is a double-sized position. And they're both down about 5%, and I'm still just down 1% for the day. So I'm not in bad territory here. And that's because I was able to consistently secure profit elsewhere. And just demonstrating here, if I didn't want to deal with any of this drawdown and I just cut these nice and tight, well, my first trade I was done anyway within like a minute or two, I think. We could have just called it there. All right, so I consistently show you guys that on these streams. I call out when, if I was a new trader just looking for a 1.5%, I call out right there, boom, I'd have been done. Every day I do that. So if you don't want to get stuck in the muck here on these pull downs and the volume ebb and flow and all that good stuff, there's a lot of weight that you can lift if that's something you find yourself in a lot, just by choosing to not participate. You can just walk away, just take your profits and leave for the day. Not a problem. Hang out and focus on other stuff. We're starting to get a little action on this one as well. So that's a huge factor as well. It's how much time and focus are you willing to commit to the market? And for me, unless I'm streaming, it's not a lot. Like normally I just get in and out. Like you guys see it on the first trade of the day, I'm usually in and out. But I also know I have to share like realistic trades and things that you guys will find yourselves stuck in. So I like to, recover positions and stuff as well. Virtual, can you explain how to draw that red box down there? This one down here? Or one on trib? This one. They're the same box. I'll walk you through it. So on this one, if we go back here, you see this big move right here? You see this big candle? This creates a fair value gap, right? Which I can teach you later on. But more importantly, you see this big move and this big candle that started it? This is where most people would focus, and that's not what I want to do. I want to focus on the candle where that move came from. So that's why I drew this box. And then you just take that same level and you look to the left, look to the right, and see how price participates out of that zone. And in this case, we got a nasty move to the upside out of that same range. And then this one here as well. We had a wedge here. It had compression and then it released. It caused this big move and this bigger leg, right? But this big impulse right here started with this little guy. So I drew a box. And then we're just looking for a blast out of that box. That's all. It could be both. It's a support or resistance. What it represents is institutional participation. This is where they're hanging out. So we're hedgy hunting. Same here on trib, right? We've got this guy right here. And then on this guy right here as well. And that's all I care about. And then this guy right here pushed the price down. So we drew this box right here. And that's it. That's all I do. For this strategy anyway. I mean, there's dozens of strategies I teach, but they're all the same at the end of the day. That's the secret sauce. But what we're doing here is skewing our potential quite a bit by identifying the area where there's historical violence, and we're focusing on catching entries out of those zones. So if we look at like Hi-Ho, for example, we just did the same thing. We just traded out of this box. We caught a small piece of the profit. We locked it in early on not too early, but early on the bulk of the shares just to guarantee a net profit. And then we sold the rest on an impulse through this box, and then it started to pull back, and I didn't like what it was doing, so I exited completely because I didn't want it going back into this box because of the potential to slingshot the price back down. So I didn't want to participate in that. So then it came back and retested that same box and blasted to the upside. So all these boxes do is just represent where the hedges are. So that's all. All right. So, and when I use certain coloring schemes and certain like styling, just to indicate kind of how the price should perform at those levels. So when I have a dashed line, that just, I don't know if you remember the old Hot Wheels tracks, but there used to be little wheels on the side of the track pieces that had like a motor connected, and they would just spin really fast. And when the car went through, it would speed them up really fast, and it would just slingshot the car in that same direction. That's what I'm using some of these zones for, and I call them transitory zones because they're temporary. They don't stay forever, and they're not really pivot zones. So you've got pivot zones and you've got acceleration zones. So the fact that the volume is low here means that the price wants to hug these zones, and it's just going to travel from zone to zone until the volume really kicks in. Like, think of these as having their own gravitational orbit. When there's low volume, there's nothing to accelerate it out of that zone. There's nothing to escape the gravitational pull. So it's just going to hover and hang out. And then when the volume comes in, it'll move up or down off of that, planet, if you will, and it'll escape gravity and go to the next planet and get sucked into that one. So the idea here is that we're just waiting for the volume to kick the price off. And what I like to use as an analogy here is that these levels are like a broken home. When there's nobody home, the price is okay to hang out. It's comfort time. We can chill in our bedroom and read a book or whatever, right? When family comes home, when the in-laws come over, the neighbors come over, things start getting chaotic in the household, there's a lot of participation. We want to escape, right? So we leave the home, we run away, we go somewhere else, we go to the next home. So that's kind of how the price behaves. So when there's low volume, the price is just going to cling to these zones and just kind of drift from zone to zone. When there's volume, the price displaces violently away from them. Does that make sense? Yeah, its border went all the way over to Thailand because of that. So 14 years later, he's displaced. He's up here now. He's not down here in split territory. And you can see the ones that have volume, they're the ones that move. So this is very much a volume-based game. And again, like I said, if you guys don't want to deal with that drawdown at all, you don't have to. So if, for example, like we watched this one and we said we're not going to trade it because it's it wasn't a good quality stock, and it's okay to let stuff run. But we called it out and we said, this one has potential to blast, blah, 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 blah. If you wanted to enter like on this candle here on the break over that, for example, let's say this was your entry right there, your stop loss could just be below these two candles right here. And you could just walk away with a small loss if you have to. But the profit potential is so much bigger, you can absorb quite a few of those small losses before it really matters. So that's why I like teaching this strategy, because it's just fun. He's nice. Like this one here, we placed a buy order down here this morning at market open. We just didn't get filled. It was like a cent or two above my entry and it didn't come back. And that's okay. I'm just trading the same stock a little bit later in a different area. It's all good. I'm going to just peek back over here at Trib. So it's just a matter of getting that volume to ebb and flow. But speaking of ebb and flow, I do have to jump off here pretty soon. So let me end the live stream portion of this, the recording on outside Discord. And I'll hang out with you guys here. Let me put a link on the social media platforms. Oh, excuse me. And then anyone who's watching on there is welcome to join us in the Discord. But I'm going to end the live stream portion. I'll hang out with you guys here in Discord for a few minutes while I do my cleanup part. And then I have to jump off here because I have a meeting. So let me hang out with you guys and